The Galactic Council, a vast and powerful coalition of the galaxy's most advanced species, sat in the grand hall of their massive space station, observing Earth's situation with amusement. Their laughter echoed across the cold, sterile walls, as representatives from various worlds mocked humanity's efforts to defend itself. Earth, they believed, was a backwater planet, its people nothing more than primitive creatures, clinging to survival in a galaxy full of far superior civilizations. The human fleet was a joke in the eyes of the Council, crude, outdated ships from a forgotten time. The technology they had left behind, relics of an ancient past, had no place in the galaxy of the future. Earth's defenses were nothing but a feeble attempt at resisting the inevitable. To most, it was a race destined to be forgotten, its people little more than a footnote in the galaxy's history. The Council had already decided what needed to be done. The once thriving planet would be purged, its inhabitants wiped out. They had lingered too long, pretending they were relevant, and it was time to finish what had been started long ago. Earth had been ignored for millennia, its cries for help unheard. Now, there were no more excuses. The Council had grown impatient. As the representatives gathered around their vast table, the final plans were being drawn up. An invasion force of unmatched power was being prepared, ships with advanced weapons capable of crushing any resistance. Earth's fate was sealed. No one doubted it. The invasion would begin, and nothing could stop it. But just as the Council members exchanged smug glances, a strange signal echoed across the vast expanse of space. The communications officer, sitting at the far end of the chamber, looked up in confusion. "I'm detecting something," he said, his voice tinged with uncertainty. The room fell silent. A transmission, long dormant, had suddenly activated. It was faint, barely detectable, coming from the farthest reaches of space. No one had expected this. The Earth was supposed to be a forgotten world, its communications nothing but ancient noise, lost to time. But this was different. The signal wasn't a distress call, as they'd assumed, but something far more intriguing. Curiosity replaced their arrogance. The officers tapped into the signal, and as it flickered to life on their screens, they were stunned. The message was clear, but its tone was chilling. It wasn't a plea for help. It wasn't a message of surrender. It was a statement, one that made the room go cold. "Humanity is not gone," the message said. "We are not weak. You will learn this soon." The room went dead silent. This was impossible. The humans had always been considered a weak species, barely able to defend their homeworld. Their fleet was nothing but a shadow of the powerful armadas that ruled the galaxy. What could this signal mean? How could it be from Earth? One of the Council members, a tall alien with shimmering scales, leaned forward, frowning. "It must be a trap," he declared, his voice filled with suspicion. "The humans have always been weak. They cannot be a threat to us." But another member, a cold and calculating figure, raised an eyebrow. "What if it's not a trap? What if the humans have developed something we don't know about? Something we've missed?" The debate intensified as the Council members exchanged heated words. Some were eager to dismiss the message as a glitch in their systems, a simple error that could be corrected with a little time. But others, sensing the gravity of the situation, felt a growing unease. They had underestimated humanity for far too long. Meanwhile, in the distant corners of the galaxy, the faint message from Earth had already begun to spread, bouncing from relay stations to far-flung star systems. As it traveled, more and more species tuned in. They, too, were confused and intrigued by the sudden appearance of the signal. Who was sending it? And why? Back in the heart of the Galactic Council's chamber, a decision was being made. There was no longer any time to waste. If Earth was indeed preparing something, they needed to act quickly. The invasion plans were accelerated, and the fleet was mobilized. But the questions still lingered. What had Earth really done? What was this message? As the Council moved forward with their plans to destroy Earth, one thing was clear. The galaxy was about to see something it had never seen before. Humanity, though thought to be extinct, was not done yet. The ancient planet, long considered insignificant, was ready to make a stand. But no one knew what kind of power humanity still possessed. Could the signal be a sign of an unexpected awakening? Or was it just the last gasp of a dying species? The answer would come soon enough, and when it did, the galaxy would be forced to face the reality of what humanity had become, something they had never imagined, something far more dangerous than they ever could have guessed. The awakening of Earth's fleet had begun, and no one would be laughing for much longer. The Galactic Council's confidence was unshaken. They had witnessed the rise and fall of countless civilizations, each one thinking they were special, each one thinking they could stand against the might of the Dominion. Earth's fleet was no different in their eyes. It was laughable, so outdated, so primitive. But the signal, the one message that sent chills through the deepest chambers of the Council, continued to echo in their minds. Despite their assurances, doubt had begun to creep into the minds of a few. The question lingered. What if humanity had a hidden weapon? What if this message was something more than just a dying species' last cry? Still, the decision had been made. The fleet would move forward with its mission. Earth would be annihilated, once and for all. Across the galaxy, the invasion fleets began their preparations. Massive ships, glowing with the power of an entire galaxy's resources, were being armed with the most advanced weapons the Council could muster. Their commanders, seasoned veterans who had crushed empires before, stood ready to wipe Earth off the star maps. Earth had been nothing but a forgotten corner of the universe, until now. But as the fleet moved into position, something changed. The galaxy, which had long been silent, suddenly felt different. A shift in the cosmic winds, a tension that no one could quite explain, as though the very fabric of space had been torn open. The fleet that was meant to crush Earth's last resistance was now unsure of its path. In the quiet depths of space, far beyond the prying eyes of the Council, a secret was about to be revealed. Deep within the asteroid belt that once surrounded Earth, an ancient fleet had been quietly hidden, waiting. And it wasn't a fleet of primitive ships as the Council thought. It was something far more dangerous. The human fleet was old, yes, but not in the way they imagined. It had been built for a purpose that had long since been forgotten. These ships, buried for millennia, were not just advanced. They were designed for one thing: survival. And now, that purpose was about to be fulfilled. On Earth's moon, an ancient control center, long thought abandoned, suddenly came to life. Hundreds of dormant warships, hidden deep within the moon's craters, powered up. Automated systems roared to life, their machines clicking, humming, and whirring as they came online. The great fleets of humanity had been awakened, not just by the signal, but by something more. The final order, locked away for centuries, had been triggered. The protocol for Earth's last stand had been activated. Humanity's fleet, long thought destroyed, was now ready to rise from the shadows. The first ships began to leave their long-forgotten hangars, their engines roaring as they powered into the void. The ships weren't just old, they were augmented, designed to adapt, to rebuild, and to fight. And fight they would. The world's leaders, those few who had survived the collapse, stared in awe at the return of their greatest weapon. They had thought Earth's time had passed, that they were just a memory in the galaxy's history. But now, as the great fleet moved out of hiding, they realized just how wrong they had been. No longer a weak, defenseless species, humanity was showing the galaxy its true strength. It wasn't just technology that made them powerful, it was the unbreakable will to survive, to adapt, and to fight for their home. Earth was not a dead world. It was a sleeping giant, waiting to be awakened. And now, with the Council's fleet on the horizon, Earth's mightiest armada was prepared to show the galaxy what it had been hiding. As the human ships emerged from their secret bases, they began to form a massive formation in the black void of space. The once hidden fleet, which could rival even the greatest galactic powers, was moving as one. The starships hummed with power, their weapon systems locked and ready. The galaxy's most feared and forgotten species was rising. The fleet that had been written off as nothing more than a faint dream was real, and it was coming. The Council, still in their grand hall, continued to discuss the upcoming invasion, unaware of the impending storm. They were focused on their strategy, their weapons, and their plans for Earth's final destruction. The signal had been written off, their minds too consumed with their own arrogance to see the threat in front of them. But as the fleet of Earth's mightiest armada moved forward, a single thought passed through the minds of a few in the Council. We have underestimated them. And then, as the first wave of ships crossed into the Council's territory, the unthinkable happened. The systems across their massive fleets began to malfunction. Their weapons, once so powerful, were now ineffective. Ships began to lose power, as if someone had reached into the heart of their technology and disabled it. The unexpected happened. Earth's fleet was not just powerful, it was prepared for everything. The galaxy's invaders, the mighty forces of the Galactic Council, were about to discover the true meaning of humanity's resilience, and the rest of the galaxy would soon understand why it had never been wise to laugh at Earth. The stars themselves seemed to tremble as the ships of Earth began to move closer to their targets. Humanity was not done. The war had just begun. The galaxy's most feared armada, long thought forgotten, had arrived. And they were here for one thing: to remind the galaxy that humanity would never be erased. As the human fleet sailed through the stars, a deep silence filled the void. The vastness of space stretched before them like an endless ocean. But for the first time in thousands of years, humanity was not alone in the dark. Earth's armada, once hidden away, was now moving with purpose, its ships cutting through the cosmos as one unified force. The fleet wasn't just an echo of humanity's past. It was a testament to their resilience, their ability to survive and adapt in the face of extinction. It was a wake-up call, and the galaxy was about to answer. Back at the Galactic Council's headquarters, the mood had shifted. The once dismissive leaders now felt the weight of their arrogance. The signal that had been brushed aside, the one they had laughed at, had begun to resonate throughout the galaxy. They had underestimated humanity, thinking them a species of little consequence. Now, as their advanced fleets faltered under the unseen force of Earth's technology, they realized their mistake. Reports of malfunctions flooded in. Communication systems went down. Entire battalions lost contact with command. Some ships, once filled with arrogant confidence, now struggled to function as they faced an unexpected glitch in their systems. It wasn't just a random malfunction. It was coordinated. Someone, or something, had turned their technology against them. The Council's generals, once certain of their victory, scrambled to understand what was happening. Their fleets, designed to crush any threat in their path, were falling apart. Systems were compromised, energy reserves drained, and weapons failed to fire. Panic slowly started to creep in. It was clear now. Earth's armada was not just advanced, it was alive. It adapted, it learned, and it fought with an intensity that the galaxy had never before seen. The human ships, though old, were powered by an ancient and nearly forgotten technology. Built to endure and evolve, the ships had been equipped with self-repair systems and adaptive shielding, giving them the ability to regenerate and adjust to any form of attack. These weren't just ships, they were living machines designed to protect humanity at all costs. And now, they were doing just that. The first battle came swiftly. The Council's fleet, which had been poised to overwhelm Earth's last defense, was met with a deadly surprise. Earth's ships fired first, their weapon systems cutting through enemy lines with precision and power. The Council's forces, disoriented and ill-prepared for this new threat, were caught off guard. Their ships exploded in bright bursts of energy as the human fleet rained down destruction from every angle. In space, a battle unlike any the galaxy had ever seen began to unfold. Earth's ships didn't fight like any other species. They fought with the raw fury of a species determined to survive. The humans had learned from their mistakes, had built and rebuilt, and had forged a fleet that was as unforgiving as it was unstoppable. Every missile, every shot fired from their massive cannons seemed to carry the weight of humanity's entire history, a history of struggle, resilience, and the unyielding will to endure. As the battle raged on, the Galactic Council's commanders found themselves retreating. The very concept of retreat had never been part of their vocabulary, yet now they found themselves falling back before Earth's might. The once invincible fleet, their pride and joy, was being dismantled piece by piece. Panic spread like wildfire through their ranks. Reports from the front lines came in. Earth's ships had adapted to every countermeasure they'd thrown at them. Nothing seemed to work. The invincible had become the vulnerable. But even more terrifying was the fact that Earth's fleet was growing stronger with every passing moment. The human ships, though battered, kept moving forward, their ability to repair and regenerate keeping them in the fight. Their tactics were unpredictable. They didn't rely on brute force alone. They used strategy, clever maneuvers, and the element of surprise to devastating effect. The longer the battle went on, the more it became clear Earth's fleet was not just fighting for survival. They were fighting to make a statement. They were fighting to show the galaxy that they had been wrong to dismiss humanity. Across the galaxy, other species watched in awe as Earth's armada continued to tear through the once dominant forces of the Galactic Council. The sight of human ships, ancient, yes, but somehow more powerful than anything the galaxy had ever seen, shook the foundations of everything the Council believed. It was impossible, but it was happening. The Council had not just underestimated humanity's ability to fight back. They had underestimated the sheer willpower of a species that refused to die. The message that had been sent out so many years ago was now loud and clear. The galaxy might have forgotten Earth, but Earth had not forgotten the galaxy. And now, the galaxy would pay the price. As the battle entered its climax, one thing became undeniable. Earth's mightiest armada had arrived, and nothing in the galaxy would ever be the same again. The future of the galaxy was now in the hands of a species that had been written off as nothing more than a myth. The Galactic Council, for the first time in centuries, was on the defensive, and the humbling truth began to sink in. The galaxy had laughed at Earth's fleet, but now it was too late to escape its fury. The battle raged on, each moment more intense than the last. The once proud ships of the Galactic Council, designed to be the mightiest forces in the galaxy, now trembled under the unexpected wrath of Earth's revived fleet. The Council's most powerful commanders, who had once been celebrated as tactical geniuses, now scrambled in confusion, trying to understand how Earth's seemingly outdated ships were outmatching their advanced fleets. In the midst of the chaos, the leader of the Council, High Admiral Vallis, paced back and forth in his command center. His once calm and collected demeanor was now replaced with a look of desperation. The reports flooding in were grim. The human fleet had outmaneuvered their most elite battalions. Entire squadrons were lost, and the technology they had so confidently relied on was failing them at every turn. For the first time in his career, Vallis felt the weight of true fear. The arrogance he had once carried so proudly was now his greatest weakness. "What is happening?" Vallis muttered to himself as he reviewed the tactical data. He couldn't make sense of it. His ships had the superior firepower, the faster engines, the advanced shielding. Yet Earth's fleet was exploiting every flaw in their strategy. They weren't just reacting. They were anticipating every move, adapting with precision. It was as though Earth's fleet had been designed specifically to counter everything the Council could throw at it. Meanwhile, aboard the flagship of Earth's armada, Terra's Wrath, Captain Elara Hayes stood before a massive display showing the positions of both fleets. Her face was stern, focused, and resolute. She had been briefed on the battle plan, but as the fighting escalated, she could feel the weight of the responsibility that came with commanding humanity's last line of defense. "We're making progress," Captain, but the Council's countermeasures are relentless, her first officer, Commander Tarek, said as he scanned the battlefield. We need to push harder. We can't give them a chance to regroup. Ilara nodded, her mind racing. The Council was used to total dominance, an empire that had conquered countless worlds. But they had underestimated the heart of humanity, the one thing that no amount of technology could replicate. Humans fought not just to survive, but to protect what was theirs. This was no ordinary battle. It was a statement. Humanity had been dismissed for far too long, and now they would make the galaxy see them for what they truly were. Prepare to initiate Protocol Forge, Ilara ordered, her voice unwavering. It was a tactic they had developed long ago, an emergency protocol to tip the balance of power in their favor. The weapon, though ancient, was humanity's trump card, and it was time to use it. In the command center of the Galactic Council's flagship, panic began to rise. Valis had finally come to a decision. They had been wrong. Earth wasn't just fighting for its survival, it was fighting for something greater. The Council's intelligence had missed something crucial, the fact that Earth's ships were not just technologically advanced. They were imbued with something even more powerful, humanity's spirit. We must engage them now before they have a chance to strike with their full force. Valis shouted, slamming his fist onto the console. Rally all remaining forces. We cannot afford to lose another ship. But as Valis gave the order, something unexpected happened. One by one, the screens in his command center began to flicker. The signals from his fleets began to distort. Their communications, once flawless, were now filled with static and interference. A chill ran down his spine as he realized that something was going terribly wrong. His forces were losing their ability to function. The truth became apparent to Valis in that moment. Earth's fleet was not only fighting with an unmatched fury. They had introduced a new element to the battlefield, a technological warfare that the Council had never even considered. The humans weren't just adapting. They were infiltrating. Their ships had somehow hacked into the Council's systems, scrambling data, disorienting their fleets, and cutting off their communications. The mighty Galactic Council had become a victim of its own arrogance. Back in Earth's command center, Ilara watched the destruction unfold with a sense of grim satisfaction. Her crew was executing their strategy flawlessly. The Council's communication systems were now completely disabled, leaving them isolated and vulnerable. Humanity's final message, sent out in a desperate attempt to warn the galaxy, had now become the instrument of their enemy's downfall. But Ilara knew that the battle was far from over. The Council would not go down easily. They were a force to be reckoned with, and though they were faltering, they still had the strength to retaliate. The human fleet, though formidable, was not invincible. Every decision, every moment in this battle would decide not just the fate of Earth, but the future of the galaxy itself. We need to end this quickly, Ilara said, her eyes fixed on the display of enemy movements. Prepare for the final strike. All ships, prepare to engage with maximum force. We're sending a message once and for all. The human fleet, now united and determined, surged forward with renewed vigor. Their advanced weapon systems lit up the void, unleashing a torrent of destruction upon the disorganized forces of the Galactic Council. As the enemy fleet broke apart, shattered by humanity's relentless assault, the galaxy began to realize the truth. Earth had not been forgotten. Earth had been waiting. And now, they had returned, stronger, smarter, and more powerful than ever before. The Galactic Council's pride had led to their downfall. The galaxy would never forget the fury of Earth's mightiest armada. The battle was far from over, but one thing was certain. The galaxy had underestimated humanity, and now it was paying the price. As the last remnants of the Galactic Council's fleet scattered across the stars, the once imposing empire was left in disarray. Earth's mightiest armada, driven by the fury of its people, had dealt a crushing blow to their most powerful adversaries. Yet even in the midst of victory, Captain Ilara Hayes stood in the command center of Terra's wrath, her face etched with a deep, contemplative frown. The battle was won, but the war was far from over. The truth settled heavily on her shoulders. Earth had awakened a sleeping giant, and with it, a galaxy that had long dismissed humanity now took notice. Every species, every government, every galactic power that had once looked down on Earth as weak, primitive, and insignificant was now faced with a truth they hadn't anticipated. Humanity was back, and they were no longer the helpless species they had once been. Ilara. Commander Tarek's voice broke through her thoughts, his face illuminated by the soft glow of the control panel. The Council is retreating, but we've received intelligence from our deep reconnaissance satellites. There's something happening in the outer systems. Ilara raised an eyebrow, her focus snapping back to the present. What do you mean, Tarek? We're not the only ones watching, Tarek said, his voice low. There are movements among the Prokoth, the Tsalan Collective, and a few other unaligned species. They've noticed our victory, and they're making preparations. Ilara's hand tightened around the armrest of her command chair. It had been clear from the moment the signal had been sent that Earth's return would not go unnoticed. But now, it seemed that the galaxy was on the brink of something far more dangerous than they could have anticipated. The battle with the Galactic Council was only the beginning. The entire galaxy would be forced to take sides, and whether they realized it or not, Earth had just made itself the center of a new galactic conflict. Are we ready for what's coming? Ilara asked, her voice steady, but filled with an underlying urgency. We're better prepared than they think, Tarek responded, glancing at the tactical display. Our fleets are ready, and our intelligence has never been more accurate, but we can't underestimate them. These new players, especially the Tsalan, they are strategic and ruthless. Ilara nodded. Then we must be more ruthless. She turned her attention to the communications officer. Contact the allied forces we have left. It's time to establish a galactic alliance of our own. If we're going to stop this, we'll need the strength of every last free world. The officer nodded and began transmitting the message across the galaxy, reaching out to those who had once fought beside Earth in its darkest days. Meanwhile, Ilara took a deep breath, her thoughts momentarily drifting back to the message they had sent, the message that had awakened this war. It was clear now. Humanity had not only sent a message to the galaxy, they had also declared themselves the true power in the galaxy, whether others liked it or not. And with that declaration came inevitable consequences. Back in the Galactic Council's shattered command center, High Admiral Valis had begun to grasp the depth of his failure. The once mighty empire had crumbled under Earth's unexpected onslaught. Valis had underestimated the sheer will of humanity, but now he had no choice but to acknowledge the truth. Earth's fleet had awakened a force the galaxy was ill prepared to face.